What's going on, everybody? John Walker back again with another Digital Juice tutorial. Today we're going to talk about canvases used in conjunction with Toxic Type. Toxic Type is an After Effects template project that it has all kinds of different projects that you kind of mix and match. You can replace things like text, change color of backgrounds. I'm going to show you how to take that product a step further, combine that with our Christmas canvases to create a very dynamic and cool looking holiday ad. Here's what we're going to be doing.
Get ready, it's Christmas time again. Come shop the Holiday Shop, where all items are 50% off for a limited time only at the Holiday Shop.
Pretty cool. I don't know who that voiceover guy is, but he is amazing. You should probably hire him. Now, we're going to jump into After Effects. I have selected the Puppet Show HD Toxic Type project, and what that is pretty much what we saw in the ad. We have these strings connected to these text boxes that pop down and have a very fluid organic animation as they bounce left to right, as if to look like someone is really dropping these down like puppets on strings and kind of manipulating them. And what we're going to do is basically just replace the background and the text and create a holiday ad very quickly that is going to be something that you can turn around and impress people with. Now, first thing we need to do is import some of our files here. I'm going to go to my Christmas canvases here, and I've selected these three files from the Christmas canvases collection. So I'm going to grab these three files here, and I'm going to drag them into my project. Now that I have my Christmas landscapes here, my canvases, I'm going to pick which ones I want to use first. So the first one I want to use is this poinsettia frame. Now these are very large files, as you can see. This is 6,000 by 3375, which is huge. So if you want to open up Photoshop or some other editing application, or inside of the juicer, if you want to shrink these down so that way they're not as taxing on After Effects when they render, feel free to do so. I've got plenty of RAM, and so I'm just going to leave them big because I may want to scale it up and play with it. So I'm going to click on my first composition here. When you open up the project for the Puppet Show HD, it will open up this timeline right here. So I'm going to click inside of my composition and open up this composition, which here is our first frame, which is this mini mint. It's really cool background. So I want to replace the text. So let's replace the text. Now, main text is the large text here, the mini mint. So let's double click on that. And then once we're inside of this folder, we need to double click again on this main text here. So double click on that. And I'm going to actually hide. I don't want all of these in and out in duration and stretch. If you want to hide things like this, you can click on this little pull down menu, go to columns, and then just start switching off, like hide in, go back to columns, hide out, hide duration, and hide stretch. And now I've got some more screen room here. I'm doing a lower resolution screen so that way you guys can see what's going on, so I don't have as much space as I normally do, so I have to get rid of a few things. Now we're inside of this, and here is our text. It's basically this paper, kind of construction paper looking outline, and then we've got our text in here, and we've got kind of a grungy, little dingy thing to give it some more depth and texture. Well, I don't really like that because I want this to be very clean, very bright because it's Christmas, so I'm going to hide this first layer, which is this top layer, paper to JPEG. That is just the dirty, dingy part of it. And so now it's bright and clean and pretty, and that's what I want. So I'm going to click on Mini Mint 2 here, and I'm going to double click and just change it to It's Christmas. And the way this is set up, once you change this top layer, the bottom will follow, so the outline matches perfectly. Now, I want my outline, though, to not be pink. If you go into your effects here, you'll see that tritone has been applied, and I'm going to just change this to red. And then you can use your eyedropper and select that red so they all match. So now we've got a red, it's Christmas, looks good. Let's close that. And now let's hide these as well. Let me pull my drop down menu here, columns. Let me hide in, out, and duration, And it's kind of going off screen, so you may not be able to see it, but they're there. Stretch. All right, so now I've got some more room here. So if you just, let me zoom out so you can see what's going on. And if I just scrub through, you can see that the text has already changed. So It's Christmas drops down now. So that part is done. So I'm going to close main text 1. And now here's my main comp here. It's Christmas. And Christmas is really cool. You could leave that if you wanted to, but we're going to change it. So let's go into subtext. And let's go into edit subtext here and do the same thing. I'm going to hide this top layer because I don't want that grunge. And I'm going to click on here. And right here, I'm going to type get ready. And I'm going to change the font size here. And now I'm going to have to change the bottom font size as well. So I want that to match. So let me make that 71. And there we are. And I made this one, I kind of flip-flopped it, and you could do it either way, and I wanted to really show you. I'm just kind of going through and changing the text to whatever I want, and that's the whole point of this. You can change it to whatever you want. And this gray solid here, I'm going to get rid of that box in the background. Or actually, I'm just going to make it a little bit larger. So I'm going to click on S for scale. I'm going to click this little chain to make sure my proportions stay the same. Originally in the template, the proportions were not checked, so you could scale this and scale up, but I'm going to undo by hitting Command Z twice, and I'm going to hit that chain, and now when I do it, they all move together. And then I'm going to hit V to make sure I've got my arrow tool selected and move this up to the center, something like that. And now I'm going to close this down. And this is orange on this level. So I need to come to this subtext 1 composition. And you can see there's my tritone, white, orange, and black. And I'm going to change this orange to kind of a Christmassy dark green. And there you go. Now we close that. And you'll see that the size is really big and it's kind of covering it up. Well, what can we do to fix that? Well, we can just grab this arrow and move this down, and oops, what? We can't do that because now the strings have become detached. So let's undo and go back in our subtext, and we need to actually move this layer. And what we can do is go in and select, make sure you're on a keyframe, select position, select all of them, and then just move this down a little bit. And let's go back to Puppet Show here and see what we got. And as you can see, it kind of, you can see it a little bit on the top of the screen coming out. And we definitely don't want that. So right before it moves out, let's double click and go back into subtext. Grab this and move this up out of the frame. Now when we go through, it's Christmas, get ready. And then the strings pull it back up and it's gone. And so now we just need to deal with our background. So here's our background. What I am going to do here, this has a lot of effects applied to it. I like a lot of the effects. I don't want the color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my project tab here. I'm going to grab my poinsettia frame. And while holding down the Alt key on Mac, Option on Windows, or excuse me, Option on Mac, Alt on Windows, I'm going to drag this down and switch. And now this is my poinsettia landscape. And you're saying, well, I can't really see anything. Well, here, let me turn off the effect here of the tritone. And there you see we have this is coming through. And it's actually a little big, so I'm going to scale it down. And there's our poinsettia background. And I'm actually going to go up here and adjust this. I'm just going to turn off this curves. Because this was it was very bright and vibrant, and this curves effect was used to sort of dull it down so it just wasn't completely off the scale in color and in luminance. And so now we've got our background here, and there we go. And as you can see, this isn't all the way off screen, so I need to go back into my subtext. I need to go to my last keyframe here by clicking this arrow and just move this up off the screen. And let's go back and make sure it gets out of there. And It's Christmas doesn't get out of there either, so let's make sure we get that. Hit U to show your keyframes. Go to our last keyframe and pull that out. And it gets out of the frame. So there is our first frame completely changed, already done. And we're going to repeat that in these other frames coming up and open this composition. Now we're in our second image here, and I'm going to double click inside of the main text, and here is our text. And let's just check back. Let's see what I have written for that one. All items are 50% off. So I'm going to change this first one. I'm going to go to main text. I'm going to change kids 1 to hit caps lock, all items, because this is very important. I'm going to make this all bold. And so now what I want to do is I want to change this background layer. You can see the tritone effect is on this again. I'm going to make this one, I'm going to make my first one green instead of red and just kind of mix it up a little bit. So let's make this that Christmassy green. Hit OK. And eyedrop it. And also we want our background to be that evergreen, our little block there. It's actually a little bit darker, so I'm going to brighten that up. That matches pretty well. And so now there is that. And then we can turn off our top layer because that gives us that grunge and we don't want that. So let's close that. And then also we want to, in this one, turn off our tritone effect because this is kind of bringing out that gold they wanted more, and I don't really want that. I just want this to stay green, so I don't want this effect. You can turn off the little effects button or delete it completely by clicking on it and hitting delete. Then what we're going to do is change our subtext. And so this needs to say all items 50% off. Now this one's pretty wild. So I'm going to turn off my tritone effect. And then when I turn the tritone off, this is red. So I'm going to change my text here. I'm just going to click the eyedropper and click on that white. And now it is white. Let me turn off the grunge layer again. And let's change this layer to red instead of pink. Because we flip-flopped. Instead of going red-green, we're going green-red. And then on our square box here, let's just make this pink a bright red. And then let's shrink that a little bit. Well, let's see where the strings are. I don't want to mess up the strings. That actually might be okay. So we can just leave that, and let me close this down. And then now we just need to change our background. So let me go into my second frame, which I believe is this Christmas landscape with the sort of the wreath look. And I'm going to hold down the Alt key, drag that over. Now let me go into my effects panel. I'm going to turn off curves, and then I'm going to turn off tritone. And now I'm just going to scale this back to what I want it to be. Something like that's pretty good. And now let me close that and go back into my main comp here. So it's Christmas, get ready. Shifts, all items, 50% off. Now we just need to change our end here. And I like this logo. I went ahead and went with this. If you wanted to put in some other logo of your company or of your client, all you'd have to do really is go in and change this main text, do out what we did with grab an Alt and switch. If we had this, you could hit Alt and just drag that on top of that. And this is a huge image. So, but I'm just showing you, you can switch that. This is actually the canvas background, but with any logo or anything, you could just switch that comp out. But we're not going to do that. We're going to keep that. So first thing, I'm going to double click my main text comp here. Be sure to turn off my grunge here. We've got a solid over top of everything, and that actually has just some drop shadows and things. You want to keep that one on, but you want to turn off the one paper 3 JPEG because that is that grunge file, and I don't want that. And I'm going to change this from the Lucky Champion to the Holiday Shop. And the top layer of text needs to stay small, and we need to increase the size of this one. So highlight Holiday Shop, and let's just scale that up. And that's good where they're intersecting like that. So click that. And now I need to make sure that I change the color of my shapes here. So I can go in. I'm going to make this red. Click OK. I'm going to click this solid, and instead of that, I'm going to make this green instead of that brown color. I'm going to do some adjustments here. I want the edge right there to be white instead of that red. So let's click this white really quickly. And I'm going to make the highlights red and then the shadows red. And then I need to change this fill to a darker red and then make this midtones maybe something like that. Blend with original 100%. Now it's showing through because we got a gray and that looks a lot better. And then I just need to change the outline here on Holiday Shop. I need to change that from a brown. I'm going to make this green. That holiday, kind of Christmassy, dark green. Click OK. And now let's exit out of this and go back into our main comp here and change our background one more time. Change it to our last one, Carol of the Bells. Hold down Alt, drag that in. Turn off our curves and our tritone. Scale it back to about right there. And there's our end logo. And let's go back here to our main timeline. And let's do a quick RAM preview. And it's Christmas, get ready at the Holiday Shop. As you can see, with just some minimal changes, you can easily switch out stuff. Now, granted, you're going to have to do some work if you're wanting to change around that end logo, but you could easily just copy and paste text into that and make it just a text ending, or have the logo just appear in some different way and just use the existing string puppet animation, or just put the logo over top of that bar right there that is connected to the strings on the end shot, and really have something that's going to stand out, look very organic and very professional. And I think that has a holiday feel to it with the puppets on the strings. It reminds me of, you know, the kids' cartoons and the things that has that sort of choppy animation that happens during Christmas time. And I think it has a very good feel. And that music actually I used was from the Music Box Collection 2. So if you wanted to use the track that I used in the promo here, let me show you the QuickTime again.
Get ready, it's Christmas time again. Come shop the Holiday
That music
Shop,
is
where
actually
all items
Digital
are
Juice's
50%
Music Box 2
off for a
collection.
limited
So
time only.
you could check that out. It's got great tracks. Toxic Type has tons and tons of great presets, and the Christmas Canvases has a lot of backgrounds and things that you can use to really make your images pop and your ads really stand out this holiday season. Or if you're doing it for your church, it has great potential for church announcements or things that are going on during services. And, you know, I really can't say enough about this product, and I think all of these combined can make some really interesting and neat things. Alone, they're all great, and all together, there's something even more. So be sure to check them all out. My name is John Walker. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.